Over a 3-year period, one of the world's largest luxury brands filed exactly one trademark application in Norway, 0 in Denmark, 0 in Sweden, 0 in Finland. For a company that operates in nearly every wealthy country on Earth, that's not a coincidence. That's a market where a certain kind of buying behavior simply doesn't work. There's a reason for that, and it's not that Scandinavians can't afford luxury goods. Sweden and Norway both have more billionaires per capita than the United States. The reason is cultural, and it has a name. So today, 15 things Scandinavians never buy, and the real reasons behind each one, starting with the concept that explains almost all of them. Habit number 1. Anything with a visible designer logo. There's an unwritten social code across Scandinavia called Jantelagen, the law of Jante. It comes from a 1933 satirical novel, but the sentiment predates the book by generations. At its core, it says you are not to think you are anything special, and you are not to think you are better than anyone else. In practice, this means a strong cultural discomfort, with visibly displaying wealth or status. A logo on a bag isn't just a design choice. It's a signal. And in Scandinavia, that specific signal, look how much this cost, tends to be read as a mild social offense rather than an aspiration. This is the actual reason luxury brands with loud branding struggle to gain traction there. It's not that Scandinavians reject nice things. It's that they reject things whose entire function is being recognized by strangers. Habit number 2. Fast fashion, bought to be worn a handful of times and discarded. Sweden has gone further than cultural discomfort on this one. In 2017, the country introduced a tax deduction specifically for clothing and shoe repairs, cutting the cost of fixing an item roughly in half compared to buying new. The policy exists because the government wanted to make repair the economically obvious choice, not just the environmentally virtuous one. This shapes buying behavior directly. When repairing a jacket costs meaningfully less than replacing it, and when the culture already leans toward owning fewer, better things rather than a large rotating wardrobe, fast fashion loses much of its appeal. Astrid's closet isn't full of trend pieces bought for a season. It's a smaller collection of things chosen to last years and repaired rather than replaced when something wears out. Habit number 3. Bottled water. Nordic tap water consistently ranks among the cleanest and best tasting in the world, subject to strict quality standards and regular testing. Buying bottled water in a country where the tap water is this reliable isn't just an unnecessary expense. It's read as slightly absurd, paying for something that comes free and arguably better from every kitchen faucet in the country. Reusable water bottles are the default. Buying water in plastic is the exception, not the norm. Habit number 4. A second car, when one household car, or none at all, will do. This connects to a pattern we've touched on before, around walking and cycling, as the default for short trips. In many Scandinavian cities, owning 2 cars per household isn't treated as a convenience worth the cost. Between the price of vehicle ownership, insurance, and parking in dense city centers, and infrastructure that makes walking, cycling, and public transit genuinely practical, a second car often sits there depreciating for trips that could just as easily be made without it. Habit number 5. Furniture designed to be replaced in a few years. Scandinavian design philosophy, the same one behind the global success of Nordic furniture brands, prioritizes pieces built to last decades, not seasons. This means the upfront cost is sometimes higher, but the item isn't heading to a landfill in 3 years because a leg cracked or the fabric wore through. Astrid's home doesn't get new furniture often. When something does get bought, it's chosen to be the last version of that item she'll need to buy for a very long time. Habit number 6. Extended warranties and add-on protection plans pushed at checkout. This isn't a uniquely Scandinavian habit so much as a natural byproduct of buying fewer, higher-quality things in the first place. When an item is well made and built to last, the anxiety that extended warranties are designed to sell, "What if this breaks right after the return window?" carries less weight. The purchase decision was already made carefully. There's less perceived need to insure against a bad decision that wasn't made carelessly to begin with. Habit number 7. A brand new car purchased primarily as a status symbol. Car culture in Scandinavia tends to prioritize reliability, practicality, and efficiency over visible newness or size. A car that's a few years old, well-maintained, and gets the job done is not remotely embarrassing to drive. This connects directly back to Jantelagen. Buying an expensive new car specifically to be seen in it runs directly against the cultural instinct to avoid conspicuous displays of wealth. The car is transportation. It is very rarely a personal statement. Habit number 8. Anything single-use when a reusable version exists. Sweden, Norway, and Denmark all operate deposit return systems for bottles and cans, commonly called pant, where a small deposit is added at purchase and refunded when the container is returned to a machine, typically found in every grocery store. Return rates in these systems are consistently among the highest in the world. This habit extends culturally well beyond just bottles. Single-use anything, where a durable, reusable alternative exists, tends to be treated as a last resort rather than a default convenience. Habit number 9. Take away coffee in a disposable cup, out of habit rather than necessity. We talked about fika in an earlier video, the Swedish coffee ritual built entirely around sitting down with a warm drink rather than carrying one around. That same cultural instinct shows up here. A disposable cup grabbed on the way somewhere runs against the entire philosophy behind how coffee is meant to be consumed in the first place. Reusable mugs, at home and at the office, are simply the default. Habit number 10. The newest phone model every single release cycle. This one is less about a specific law or policy, and more about the broader cultural resistance to needing the newest version of anything to feel adequate. Upgrading a perfectly functional phone because a slightly newer model exists runs against both the practical Scandinavian design sensibility, buy well, keep it long, and the Jante instinct against needing visible proof that you have the latest thing. Habit number 11. Expensive gifts bought primarily to impress the recipient or people watching. Gift giving in Scandinavian culture tends to prioritize thoughtfulness and usefulness over price tag. An expensive gift bought mainly to demonstrate generosity or status, rather than because it's something the person actually needs or wants, sits awkwardly against Jantelagen's discomfort with any purchase whose real purpose is being noticed, rather than being useful. Habit number 12. Home decor bought purely to look expensive. This connects to a habit we covered in our home organization video. Decorative items that collect dust without serving a function. Scandinavian interiors favor pieces that are either genuinely used or genuinely meaningful, not objects whose only job is signaling taste or spending power to guests. A home is furnished to be lived in, not staged to impress. Habit number 13. Products that can't be repaired and were never designed to be. This ties directly back to habit number 2, and Sweden's repair tax incentive. When the culture and the tax code both favor fixing things over replacing them, products designed to be thrown away the moment they break, with no accessible parts, no repair manual, glued shut rather than screwed together, run against the entire logic of how Scandinavians are encouraged to consume. Repairability isn't a niche preference, it's baked into policy. Habit number 14. Loud, flashy vehicles designed to draw attention. Beyond the earlier point about status cars generally, this is specifically about vehicles engineered to be visually loud, aggressive styling, bright, unusual colors, deliberately attention-grabbing design. In a culture actively organized around not drawing attention to personal success, a car built specifically to turn heads works against nearly every social instinct the culture reinforces from childhood onward. Habit number 15. Anything bought primarily to be seen with, rather than to actually use. This is the principle underneath all 14 items before it. Every single thing on this list shares one trait. It's a purchase, where the primary value is external, what it signals to other people, rather than internal, what it actually does for the person who owns it. Jantelagen doesn't say Scandinavians can't own nice things. It says the reason for owning them needs to hold up even if nobody else ever finds out you have them. 15 things. And the thread running through every one of them is the same. Not frugality for its own sake, and not an aversion to nice things. A cultural instinct built over generations that the value of an object should come from using it, not from being seen with it. If this changed how you think about your next purchase, hit the like button. Subscribe to Scandinavian Secrets for more of this every week. And drop a comment. Which of these 15 is hardest for you to give up? I read every single one. Och, som alltid. Vi ses nästa gång.